There's a hidden leverage that we haven't been using with our paraprofessionals when working with our students who have visual impairments. We've talked a lot about orientation and mobility assistance, but we haven't included paraprofessionals in a systemized science-backed training for all other areas of the ECC. And today we're wondering, is that possible? Is that necessary? And what could that even look like? Welcome back to the channel. Hi, I'm Cassie Maloney. I'm the founder of the Society of Exceptional Educators. This lovely channel, we provide 21st century teaching techniques to all teachers working with students with visual impairments, because I understand how stressful it can be when you get a student with a visual impairment on your caseload and you don't know what to do. Your university classes probably didn't prepare you for this. And if you are a TBI or O&M or in the field, there are a lot of conversations that we need to be having in order to execute our ideas and move our profession forward. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. I am going to throw a wrench in the conversation that's been happening professionally, and I want your opinion on it as well. There's been a lot of talk about orientation and mobility assistance and taking paraprofessionals and making them into an orientation and mobility assistant. If you're not familiar, an orientation and mobility assistant is an actual job title that existed a little bit back ago, but it dwindled out, and it dwindled out for the following reasons. For one, it's actually really difficult to train your paraprofessional to do everything that you want them to do. In the past, these programs were run by universities, or I believe possibly AER had a program where a paraprofessional could become an orientation and mobility assistant. But there just isn't as much work, and it kind of died down. And now AER has come out and said that the O&M is the one responsible for training their O&M assistant, which is great. It's one-on-one. You know the person's already there. They don't have to create another FTE, full-time equivalent position for it. That idea is wonderful in theory and really does bridge the gap in theory. But what's actually happening in reality? Because this was proposed earlier this year, and I actually have not heard of any paraprofessionals becoming orientation and mobility assistants. So let's look at why. For one, it takes a long time to train an orientation and mobility assistant. It takes a long time to train a paraprofessional to work with our students to begin with. Also, orientation and mobility specialists are the ones charged with developing this training and executing it. And I don't know about you, but there's not as much time in the day as I would love to be able to do that kind of thing. The other thing is that orientation and mobility specialists aren't experts in creating a curriculum. We went to school to teach students. And so to create another position gets to be really daunting. You can see on the screen how orientation and mobility is just one area of the ECC. We have 8 other areas to cover. And so how can we get our orientation and mobility assistants to cover all of those? Can't really. And there's still the paraprofessional for that student. So what we need to be doing is looking at the other areas of the ECC. How can our orientation and mobility assistants become something better? The TA is already in the classroom, TA being the paraprofessional. They're already working with our students with visual impairments. Doesn't it make sense that instead of looking at this as we have to have an OMA, that we make like a TVIA or an ECC or something else A that can encompass all 9 areas of the ECC and be trained in a systematic and science-backed manner? I think that we can. And I'm going to go out on a limb so much and say we should. Because here's what our TAs actually get from it. They then have more leverage to have the high-level conversations that they need to be having with the TBIs, the O&Ms, and the teachers. We also know, and I'll show you in a few slides, that the TVI isn't with your student nearly as much time as the paraprofessional. And ultimately, the paraprofessional is already doing this work. I'll show you some studies in a second that, if you haven't seen them, might make you change your mind or might make you just think a little bit. And that's really what we're here to do today. The other thing is, we want to increase not only their responsibility, but also their leverage and being able to stay in the caseload that they are typically at or that they have at that time. Because, as you know, once you train your TA, it is really hard once they get assigned to a different student for you to train another TA, because you have to go through the same thing again and again and again. And it gets to be really difficult. And so, if we can leverage our paraprofessionals and give them a higher level training, that might entice the administration to keep the paraprofessional where they are instead of moving them around as what seems on our level often haphazardly as they are. The other thing that I would really love to see for our paraprofessionals is a bump in pay. Some school districts have different levels of paraprofessional. If they go to this many professional development opportunities, or if they take on extra certifications, they can get a bump in pay. And it would be wonderful if that were across the board. It is not. I'd love to know if it is that way for you and your staff. But I've worked with TAs where they were incentivized to learn more. And I would love to see that happening all around. So here's an interesting study, and we're just going to go through two of them just to jog your thinking here. This is a study, I believe it was done, I'm gonna misquote the date, in the early 2000s, maybe 2001. It's in-service training for teaching assistants and others who work with students with visual impairments. And what ended up happening back then was that the New York State Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired had found that their paraprofessionals were not doing a good job. The commissioner walked into a class, saw a student sitting on a paraprofessional's lap. The paraprofessionals also said that they didn't have enough training in order to know what to do. And so the state of New York created a one-day training and had really good results from it. And that just goes to show that they identified an area of need. This one specifically, they created a training and they had good results. Now, what I really wanted to look at was the role and training of paraprofessionals who work with students who are visually impaired. This came out in 2019, and I will shout out Dr. McKenzie and Dr. Lewis, because I feel like this is a full circle moment, you guys. I'm literally going to cry. I don't know why. I'm literally crying. I'm crying. Because they were my professors, and so it's so fun to have this idea and to be like, what information is out there that can either corroborate or refute my idea? Oh, my professors actually did the work here. So I'm not going to cry, but I want to. I'm going to just share their work with you. And I'm only sharing tiny snippets. We'll keep diving into this. It's a really interesting study, and we can go back and back with it with other things that they referenced. What they found in here is that paraprofessionals often report needing more information on behavior management. Everybody needs some more information on that. Curricular modifications, which is exactly what we're talking about, and inclusion. And they noted a study in 1998, 1999, and 2003 noted that limited training of paraprofessionals is often one of the main issues that influences the paraprofessional and teacher relationship. Now, that part wasn't a benefit that I was thinking about, but it makes sense. But if you look under direct instruction, and who is providing the direct instruction for the expanded core curriculum? Now, the study does also go into core curricular activities, and it's about the same here. The paraprofessional, time and time again, is providing more direct instruction. And then the paraprofessional is providing less instructional support. So they're already providing direct instruction. Now, one of the things that we do have to take into consideration as a profession, if we're looking at increasing the ability for paraprofessionals to work with our students and to give them more knowledge and to give them more responsibility, is that the TVI still has a role here. It's not that the TVI just goes away. It's not that the TVI's role becomes scarce, because I know that that's a big fear in our profession, and I don't want you guys to have that fear at all. What we're looking at here is that Koenig, Holbrook, and Farrell voiced concern regarding the assumption that paraprofessionals can mediate the environment and provide the necessary support without the 12 to 24 months of graduate training. Now, we all love and appreciate their work. They also have a conflict of interest in saying this, so we can acknowledge that too, right? Okay. But the question then becomes, since TVIs are only with their students 1 to 2% of their waking lives, and paraprofessionals are with their students 25 to 27% of their waking lives, why are we not making more of an effort to make sure that our paraprofessionals are trained to generalize the skills that the TVI has taught? Why are we not training them on the science behind what we're asking them to do? Why are we not creating programs for them? And honestly, I think it's because of lack of time. We don't have a lot of time to create a program and teach it one by one. What we need is a fully structured framework that we can take and it's already done and we can use it with our staff members.